people just need to know the risks, and they may choose to make a riskier. I mean, they just have a portfolio of risk, and they have bonds, and they have stocks, and they have, even within digital assets, there's a whole spectrum of risk.
Getting into the last story about the bipartisan effort for the crypto regulation, just wanted to quickly plug this.
Look, over my shoulders, we got our two champions here.
There it is, yeah. But I just wanted to plug the summit real quick, because this is why organizations like the TBC and events like the conferences like the summit are so impactful, because to my knowledge, you haven't necessarily worked directly with Senator Lummis on this particular bill, but there's got to be ripple effects of coming to conferences and having these policy discussions and having going to Congress, going to the state capitol, and just having all of that effort. So if you want to be a part of policy, want to be a part of change and the innovation within Texas or larger, make sure you're part of the Texas Blockchain Council. Make sure you come to the summit in November. That's my 2-cent plug.
Well, the Senator Lummis has been at the summit for the last 2 years running, and she'll be there again this year.
Yeah,
she is a champion, and we've done it several. She's also brought in Senator Gillibrand, or perhaps they've just joined forces on this bill. Senator Gillibrand being from New York, and having, obviously being a Democrat, so bring in some credibility in the Senate that is very closely divided. It's a closely held Senate chamber, and the Democrats still hold. So we do see some similarities between the House Financial Services Committee market structure bill and the Gillibrand-Lummis bill. Certainly some differences, but generally broad consensus that the CFTC should be regulating digital asset commodities, and the SEC should be regulating digital asset securities. But how do we figure out which is which? And the Ag Committee in the House oversees the CFTC. They are the body that oversees the CFTC, and the Financial Services Committee in the House oversees the SEC. There's different Senate regulatory bodies, but that's how it breaks down. So we want to make sure that we are empowering both of those agencies to do the things that they need to do, and hopefully in the process getting rid of Gary Gensler.
Well, let's talk about the bill itself. Have you had a chance to review the bill and see what the highs, the lows, what you like about it, what you don't like about it?
Yeah, so this is a reintroduction of a bill that they introduced last year. And they've learned there's some things that were tweaked post-FTX that make it a better bill this go-around. Of course, you do have the designation of authority to the CFTC. You have strong definitions around digital assets and stable coins and custody, and just sets a framework from which we can sort of launch into a broader discussion. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on how the bill's changed or how it differs from the McHenry bill, but what I will say is from here, it's a political process. People like Chris Land, who he's general counsel for Senator Lummis, they've done the work, right? They've put in a significant amount of work to get the policy right. So now we need to get our politics, our political capital together, and we need to invest that into convincing people on the relevant committees to advance these bills. So that's working on our senators here in Texas, obviously Cruz and Cornyn, but wherever you're located, that's going to be your two senators, and then also working on the members of the House Financial Services Committee, specifically some Democrats that are favorable, but may not yet feel ready to back the bill. So we're going to need to work on Maxine Waters. Of course, Richie Torres is a great champion. I've started following him quite a bit. I think he is from the Chicago area, if I remember correctly. Just really sharp guy and younger guy. Not that young is better, although I will say Congresswoman Waters is older, but she still holds her own. She is advanced in years, though. So we need younger Democrats like Congressman Torres to go over to Maxine Waters and just say, hey, trust me on this. you have a shorter time horizon than the rest of us, and that's just saying, anybody who's 80 plus has a shorter time horizon. Let us innovate here in the States. We don't want to see this innovation go overseas.
One of the things from one of the articles I read was and again, I haven't read the bill, so I'm just paraphrasing from an article, was the fact that this bill would require cryptocurrencies or crypto companies to disclose risks to their clientele.
Consumers, yeah.
So I'm assuming that's like in a direct wake of like FTX.
And that's
Or is that before or after, or just plain, hey, this is what you should have been done from the very beginning?
Yeah, well, I think it was one of the direct changes post FTX, but it's just like cigarettes. They've got the warning on the package. You're still free to smoke cigarettes. This is a free country. I guess we could talk about weed and say, well, you're not free to smoke weed, but that's probably a longer conversation for another day. But there's a warning on the cigarette package that says you shouldn't smoke cigarettes, or it's harmful for your health.
So you're saying well, are you saying that if it's there, it doesn't really change human behavior? They're probably going to do it regardless. It's kind of like
I'm saying people
worthless thing.
No, not worthless. Necessary to educate, but also people still smoke cigarettes, which is fine. I mean, this is a bad analogy because it seems like I'm equating crypto to cigarettes. That's not a good analogy.
So hell, just delete all that.
Yeah, well, we're live, so we can't. But what I am saying is people just need to know the risks, and they may choose to make a riskier. I mean, they just have a portfolio of risk, and they have bonds, and they have stocks, and they have, even within digital assets, there's a whole spectrum of risk. So I think a simple disclosure is a good idea. It's not necessarily going to change a lot of behavior, but at least it does further the educational process.
Which I think the educational process is the biggest thing. Like educating the general public, educating our policymakers, educating your financial advisors. Because I know in the past 2 years I've met several financial advisors that come through here from Goldman Sachs and other companies and I don't know if it's Goldman Sachs, but they were here learning on their own accord, even though their company that they work for wouldn't touch Bitcoin or crypto with a 10-foot pole, but it was their fiduciary responsibility to understand, to educate themselves for the future for their clientele. Yeah.
Hey, it's Amy. Click over here to subscribe, click over here for more content, and we'll see you next time.